I want to come back to one of the points that John just said there about having consistently structured data. What kind of, if we're looking at that consistently structured standardized data, what standards or organizational habits should teams, adopt to create that clean foundation in the first place?
So I think you're looking at, first of all, how are you delivering that data? So how you get, and John said, it's that what, where, and when are you measuring? So, but how are you initially making sure that the data is right there, that it can be read, and what discipline are you putting around making sure that you're getting it? So you're going, okay, these are the 10, 15 data points that I need to capture at each step in my supply chain in order to drive that decision making. And then you have to think about, well, how am I capturing that? How do I make sure that there is a consistency in data capture? Because you know what you have available. You then need to say, well, I need to make sure that I'm driving that. And this comes as well back to the human loop in the loop of, you need to make sure that you have that governance and that discipline around capturing the information as well. Because otherwise you end up with misaligned data points, inconsistent information, and to bring that back around to the piece about, it's a garbage in, garbage out. If you put in bad data or inconsistent data, or you're not driving that standardization across the organization in how you're delivering it, you're going to end up, either getting poor results, or in a worst case scenario, actually ending up getting quite misleading information out of it.
Yeah, I want to stick with you, Paul, on that, because the supply chain, or especially logistics and supply chain in automotive, is data rich, is a data rich operation, and you still have to choose the data that is useful to capture. So how do you guide customers in distinguishing signal from the noise there, and resisting that urge to data collect?
So I think it comes back to that thing of going, what is most important to solve right now? It might be that you're looking at going, the exercise will literally say, but here are the 10, 15 areas that you're trying to address in the business. Let's focus on 3 of them. Let's look at 3 things. And what are those 3 biggest things that are going to meaningfully have an impact? Now, you might want to have a fully AI-enabled demand planning, demand execution, supply chain management solution, and that's fantastic. But if you're not even sure which suppliers are able to even access systems, which ones do you even still have that are part of your network? Do you even know where is stuff actually ending up, or when are things arriving at your warehouses? It's all well and good saying let's do this, but you actually have to pair it back to those kind of the fundamentals of what things, if you solve these things now, the fewest things that you can address that will have the largest impact. And it's really interesting because very often when you put it in those terms, customers say that they don't go, oh, right, we have bigger issues than we thought, but they actually look at it and go, well, there's some basics here. There's some easy wins that we can get by solving those 2 or 3 core areas. And then you have that firm foundation, and then you can build upon it to get to that North Star.
Yeah, perfect. John, I mean, you're nodding your head all the way through, probably bringing it back to what you said about that consistently structured kind of data foundation. But did you have anything else to add? How do you really resist that urge, being in the supply chain, to over collect on the data?
I think there's got to be a happy medium, sort of a balance, again, between what are your short-term goals, what are your long-term goals. And I think when we get in the world of data quality issues, people tend to want to hide those. They don't want to address them. But that's where the value is. If you really focus on those things and truly do an effective root cause analysis of why can I not invest in AI, it's always going to come back to that data layer. And then focus on those maybe 2 or 3 things, like Paul said, of what can I do to gain the most value the quickest, and most times that is always in your data, its structure, and its quality.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's, when we're talking about speed there as well, and speed with standardization can be quite a difficult kind of thing to achieve, especially when you've got, legacy systems, multiple stakeholders, probably different definitions of the truth across, plants, regions, and supply chain partners. How do you truly balance that with everyone that you're dealing with there, John?
I think data management is a critical skill that is quickly evaporating in our industry, where people think that AI is just going to solve all of their problems. And as you put it, when there are multiple definitions of truth, the answer is not to pick one unilaterally. It's to make the disambiguation explicit. Which system is the source of record for which attribute and under which conditions? You have to document that and encode it. Any ambiguity that lives in people's heads of them trying to question where the truth is, what does it mean when it's here, what does it mean when it's there, and leaving that all here and not documenting it with, whether it be in a physical Word document, a spreadsheet, or as industry is moving, especially with AI, in using documentation as code. So coding your documentation in Git repositories, things like that. If you leave all that information in people's head, it's a ticking clock.
Yeah.
And you will run out of time.
Yeah, the analogies are coming through there, John. Paul, did you have anything to add to kind of what John's saying there?
Well, no, I think the only thing really is it's back to that reinforcing that single system of record, single system of truth, and to drive any kind of meaningful transformation, you need to establish that piece. And I think as well what John neatly highlighted is that the only thing I would add that I wrote down is when you start to get under the hood and look at how your supply chain is actually working, you start to realize just how many weak links there are and how fragile it is. And again, particularly in automotive, with a just-in-time model, we've seen, even very recently, just how a really, really small change or one part of that falls out of line or falls over, the entire thing, there was a cumulative impact all the way down the chain, which ultimately, again, is going to cost money. That's what it comes back to, money. If you get that wrong, it's going to cost money, and it comes back to the thing of going, well, why do we have that? Well, we didn't have a single source of truth. We were relying on a decision-making process that was based on instinct, not data. Or we implemented AI to just drive an entire part of a fundamental process, and we just let it be, and we assumed it was correct, and didn't drive any governance around it. And you only find that out when it's too late.